Thank you for tuning in to the Golden State Media Concepts football podcast, where we discuss the latest news, rumors, and games of the NFL and college football. As always, I'm Jeremiah.
Hey, and I'm Anthony.
And welcome back, Anthony. And we are back again with another action-packed episode for you guys today. And for one day, after the Raiders, I should say the approval of the Raiders relocating to Las Vegas, I talked about it for like 20 minutes on the show yesterday. So if you want to know what I think, there you go.
Right.
Anthony, you weren't here today, so you can talk about a little bit what you think. And we're also going to discuss maybe a Super Bowl is in Las Vegas' future. Maybe. But yeah, what was your whole thought? What did you think of the Raiders relocating to Las Vegas?
So, it wasn't surprised necessarily because they've been talking about it for a while, about the team possibly moving to Vegas or San Antonio or LA at certain times, like whatever. Like people were talking about the Raiders moving for a while now. A, because the stadium they play in was so bad. B, because you just kind of have the allure of Las Vegas, right? It was kind of one of those things of just like, there's this kind of situation in Vegas, and it's not like it's the first team because you have the hockey team now that's going to be in Las Vegas. So this has already been done as far as like one of the big four organizations. They already did it. So the fact that an NFL team did it's not like, oh, what's the first one? No, the people already decided to put their foot in the water, so this isn't exactly new. With Oakland itself, it's a weird situation for them now, man, because you have the situation where, okay, they're going to be the Las Vegas Raiders in, 2 years? But that also means that in these next 2 years, you are literally going to be playing for a team that isn't going to be your team in 3 years. Like, without a shadow of a doubt. It's not like with San Diego with the Chargers where it was just like, maybe not. And then this last offseason, they're like, nope, we're moving to L.A. Like, you knew they were going to move to L.A. probably, but at least there was like some small shimmer of hope of like, oh, maybe if we do everything right, maybe if da-da-da happens, that we can keep our Chargers. Raiders, it's like, nope, you're moving in 2 years. The good part of it is that they're actually a good team, because if they were what they were 5 years ago, this would have gotten ugly real quick. Because at least with the Raiders right now, you have the legitimate possibility of making it to the Super Bowl, right? You have a legitimate chance of winning the Super Bowl and kind of having your, not even a honeymoon, like what would you call it? Like you basically get 6 months to live kind of thing. You decide to basically do your bucket list. Like, I don't know, you basically, have an opportunity to do this while your team's still good. Because if they were bad, I don't know if they could have stayed in Oakland because the fans would have been so mad and they would have come, right? Maybe they would have come for 1 year, but that second year, that might have been really bad. And people might have shown up and, packed the capacity to about, 30% or something like that. So I'm fine with it moving to Las Vegas. I understand that there's a possibility that this whole thing can go sideways because, you're putting a team in Las Vegas, and it's one thing to basically, it's one thing for your parents to tell you not to drink alcohol before the age of 21. Just hear me out. It's one thing to have your parents be like, you're not drinking alcohol before you're 21, or even to say something like, look, I know you're going to drink alcohol. You're a human being. I can't yell at you for doing it. Do as I say, not as I do, kind of thing. But it's another thing to literally have a bottle of vodka in the kitchen table and then walk away. You're literally putting them in the middle of all the chaos. Was it Ben and I were talking about this on the sports show? My boy, Senor Gronkowski, he is going to go to Las Vegas, not to party. Also yes to party, but not for any kind of let's go to Vegas. No, they're just going to be like, oh, cool, this random Sunday, I'm going to go to Las Vegas. Do you think he's going to behave himself? I do not. I do not think he's going to behave himself at all. Do you think Johnny Manziel, if he gets to another NFL team, is going to behave himself in Vegas? No. It's not going to go well for some teams. But I do at least, I think it's going to be a lot of fun for everybody involved, for the fans of it. For us here in Northern California, we're not too far away from Vegas. We could go there if we wanted to. It would be a full day or whatever else like that, but we could drive there. It's not like we live in New York City. We have to fly down to Vegas. We could drive down to Vegas if we want to, and I think that's the other big part of it, is that you're going to have a lot of people who are tourists that want to go see the Raiders. Not necessarily Raider fans, but like tourists that are just like, oh, I'm in Vegas? Cool. Yeah, let's go to a Raider game. It's going to be another attraction, like, you know, one of those things, like what other kind of performers, like Britney Spears. And Britney Spears has like a show in Vegas, Carrot Top, like all these people who have like these shows in Vegas, like the Raiders are going to be another one of those shows.
Yeah, it's another way of pretty much globalizing the Raiders brands in the NFL brands. And that's what I said yesterday. And the best way I explained, you know, the Raiders playing in Oakland for the next 2 years, this is the best way I explained it, was it's like when you break up with your significant other and both of you guys have a lease on an apartment.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're living together, everything in the relationship is going haywire, it's not working out. There's nothing to be done. You can't work it out.
But you're still together.
But you're still together because you live together. Because why? Both of you guys' names on the lease. And there's nowhere else neither of you guys can go. So it's basically like that. You're
staying together for the kids for the last 2 years before they go off to college?
Basically, yeah. You're basically separating, but you're close to a divorce, basically. You're just separated. You're still legally married, but you're not divorced. So that's basically it. Yeah, that's the best way I can explain it. And then, like, even the stadium director in Oakland says that he doesn't want the Raiders to play in 2019. They won't be welcome back. Because remember, they got 1 year lease options for 2017, 2018. And there's a possibility that Oakland can start playing in 2019 before the stadium opens in 2020. Which is a pretty fat stadium, I add. Looks pretty gorgeous to me.
Oh, yeah. No, the whole thing is going to be just ridiculously, like, expensive. And it's going to be something that it's going to be in Vegas. And it's going to be kind of like Jerry World, kind of.
Times two. Times two.
I mean, if you're going to be in Vegas, you kind of got to go all out. You can't really, like, skimp out when you're just like, oh, no, we're just going to go kind of like middle of the road. No, you're going to do stuff with, like, fireworks coming out of it every 5 minutes. Also, dude, honest question, and I don't know if they've ever talked about this or not. Like, if you've ever been to Vegas, you could be getting gas at a Chevron, slot machines there. You could be getting pancakes at IHOP, slot machine there. Like, they have slot machines, or
even at the Las Vegas airport, they have slot machines.
Slot machines, or everywhere. Blackjack stuff. Like, they have ways to gamble all around Vegas. Like, it's not just like, oh, you're going to go.
That's how most of the income is made in that city.
Right.
Yeah.
But my point is, you have these things everywhere, right? So I'm assuming you're going to have it in the stadium, right? Like, are you going to be able to bet on the actual game, or are they going to take the Raiders off the board? Like, if you're watching the Raiders play in the stadium, are you going to be able to bet on the half? Are you going to be able to bet on the quarter as they're going? Like, are you going to be able to do all these things? Or are they basically going to say, like, yeah, you want to bet on the Dolphins, you want to bet on the Jets, you want to bet on the Jaguars? Fine. You can't bet on this team right here in front of you. Like, we're going to take that off the board. Like, we're not.
I think maybe that's a possibility, and I can see that happening due to.
Because I think there's
kind of like I kind of explained this a couple of days ago on Monday. Because you remember the referee in the NBA, Tom Donahue, when he fixed games that he was refereeing. I kind of think they're going to try to do something similar to prevent that from happening in the NFL. Because remember, I didn't know this until a few days ago that the NFL actually they don't like when their officials go to Vegas during the season. They have to go there like on a special request or something.
I mean, makes sense.
And then they never actually. This will be the first time that referees will be allowed to be in Vegas during the regular season because that's where they're going to play at. So it's kind of like a big deal on that part too. So I do think they're going to try to find ways to prevent referees from. Well, not referees, but pretty much anybody from betting on the Raiders because, you can get employees from the team. You can get employees from the league. They're going to try to find a way to prohibit, people from betting on the Raiders. I think it's to protect their employees.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we talked about this before. My idea of the 5 cities in the United States that are different than the world, or that are a different country even though being in this country, and one of those cities was Las Vegas, because yeah, like it's one thing to basically, because you can gamble in Atlantic City, right? You can bet in Jersey. That's fine. Like you can bet there too, but that's not the same thing as Vegas. Like those are two different places, and also they don't have a team in Atlantic City. So now with this whole Vegas thing, it's going to be interesting just to see how the league kind of prepares for this whole thing, right? Because you can say like, oh, well, you can bet anywhere. You can, go in Northern California. You can go to Cache Creek, or you can go to some, Indian resort where they have casinos. Cool. Also, not the same thing.
Or the Tattoo Palace in Lemoore. Shout out to the 559 there.
You can go all these different places. Like, you can totally you can do it online, right? Like, you can go to Bovada and bet. Like, there's ways you can get your fix on. That's fine. Also, you can also see a celebrity in Montana. You can see a celebrity in Texas. You're going to see a lot more of them in Los Angeles. You're going to see a lot more gambling in Vegas. That's how these things work. And you're going to basically have to, like, rein it in. Like, I think you can. You just have to be more focused on this thing, right? Because you don't want an NBA situation where you feel like the league is rigged. Because the NBA always has the kind of fight the stereotype.
There's always those jokes. Oh, this NBA's rigged, or oh, the NFL. Yeah, there's always those type of jokes.
And they've been fighting that for a while. Yeah. They've been fighting that whole thing for a long time. So you're going to have to fight against that, because the first time that you have a scandal about let's do something right. Why is Amari Cooper in a slot in a casino at 3 a.m? What is he doing? Because I guarantee you, First Take, and they're crazy. We got to talk about everything. They're going to talk about it. I guarantee you, the first time
they will. And then that's the thing. Well, Amari Cooper, I don't think he's one of those players. A player that I would have the most concern with that's currently on the roster right now, but I don't think he's going to be on the team by the time they go to Vegas, is Olin Smith. Can you imagine him and Vegas playing on the team?
Oh, no.
Exactly. He's not going to be on the team anyway by the time they move there, so I'm not really too worried about that. But still, like, when you're like a young player coming out of college, where you just got ready drafted, you got all this money now that you worked so hard to get, and then first team that you will play for is be Vegas. Because remember, most of these college kids, they don't usually travel a lot. They don't go outside of their hometown. Some of these guys are from, like, say one of the players in the South, probably from a little tiny community, right?
Yeah.
Going to Vegas, whole new world there. What are you going to do when you're 21 and when you have all this money? What are you going to do? It's everything's out there.
With that said,
I'm not trying to assume that players are going to do that. I'm just saying I think it's very likely to happen.
Well, so, but you could also do dumb stuff in Miami. You can do a lot of dumb stuff in Miami, too. You can do a lot of dumb stuff in Los Angeles. You can do a lot of dumb stuff in New York. Who is, we'll call it Johnny Manziel and Rob Gronkowski division. Who is the guy that you can see the most where it's just like, oh, this Vegas thing is going to go south for him? Like, what player?
Currently right now.
Currently playing that's not named Manziel or Gronkowski. Like, who's the guy that's just like, oh, Vegas is going to get him. Oh, no, this is going to go terribly for him. Like, who is the guy that you think in kind of all of the NFL that you would think it would just be like, because I'm going all in with Travis Kelce.
Oh, okay. Travis Kelce is a good one. Okay, doesn't have to be on the Raiders then.
Okay. No. Doesn't have to be on the Raiders. I'm talking about all of the NFL because I'm going Travis Kelce. I'm going with who's another kind of like. There's no like diva wide receiver really anymore. Like that's not generally a thing.
Odell Beckham.
Oh,
yeah, Odell Beckham Jr.
No, yes.
Hey, he boat trips.
No, yes, Beckham. That's perfect.
Odell Beckham?
Yes.
Yeah, that's
so it's Beckham and Kelce. Okay, yeah, those two. Oh, God. Yeah. Okay, cool. I didn't think about that.
You got a little too excited there.
Well, no, because I was trying to think. I'm like, because I was thinking of wide receivers. I'm like, Julio Jones isn't going to do it. AJ Green's not going to do it. Like, I'm thinking of all these people. Le'Veon Bell. Antonio Brown, he's not going to do it. I totally forgot about Beckham. Oh, my God. Oh, yes. Oh, Vegas is going to get him. Oh, Vegas. And isn't he like somehow like 6 degrees of separation with the Kardashians? Oh, that's going to go badly for him. Oh, Jesus. Okay, yeah.
All right, well, okay. Well, I was going to say this. Well, the the Raiders are still going to play in the Coliseum for 2 years. I did say the stadium director, they don't want them back in 2019.
Right.
So maybe if the Raiders have to stay for one more year in 2019, other options, they can go to Levi's, which is, I think it's very unlikely that they'll want to share a stadium with the Niners, or if the Niners want to share a stadium with them, Cal Memorial Stadium, maybe could be an option, even AT&T Park where the Giants play at, but I don't know. Do you think they want to play on the baseball field again? I don't know. I think that's the reason why they're trying to get a new stadium.
Right.
So I don't see that happening. So they don't want to play at Sam Boyd Stadium, where it's the current home for UNLV.
Mm-hmm.
But they might play preseason games there. I actually think the Raiders should start playing preseason games there this year, just for them to get a feel. I think it'd be cool. Just so they can build a hype for this team. And a thing I do want to talk about before we take our break here is, will we get a Super Bowl in Las Vegas? I think with the way that stadium looks, and when you said it, Anthony, this is like a city that's kind of like a whole nother country within a country. It's country inception. I think it could happen. The thing is, though, how are you going to do all that Super Bowl week stuff in Vegas? Because it's already crowded enough as it is. Are you going to go through it? You're going to have everything like that on the strip of Las Vegas? That's another thing you have to be concerned too.
The one thing I would advise you about with the Las Vegas Super Bowl is just Google really quick. Not you. I'm just saying people that are listening. Just Google really quick. NBA All-Star Weekend in Las Vegas. That didn't go the way the NBA had hoped. You basically told players, all right, cool, we're going to take a bunch of you all hopped up on everything else, just drinking excessively and everything else. Okay, now go hang out in Vegas. And I understand that everybody from the NFL is not going to go there. It's more of like a work trip. I get that. But are you telling me that if you had a chance to go to Vegas for the Super Bowl, that other players aren't going to go? I think they might go if it's Vegas. And if that's the case, you better be prepared, man. You better be ready for everything that's coming with it, because it's going to be a lot, man.
Yeah, and I do think it could happen, but
you remember Pac-Man Jones?
Yeah,
when he started shooting at people?
Mm-hmm.
That was that weekend. That was Vegas weekend when he got in trouble for shooting at the people at the club. That's what that was All-Star weekend. So it wasn't just NBA players that got in trouble for that. There was a lot of stuff with that.
Well, I think that's the reason why the NBA kind of wants to stay away from Las Vegas. But, with the NFL now in Vegas, the NHL in Vegas, I don't see Major League Baseball in Vegas. They do have a minor league team there with the Las Vegas 51s. I think it's the AAA affiliate of the New York Mets, I think. I don't see – I want to see the NBA in Vegas, but with what you just said, all the chaos that happened.
NBA's not going to Vegas.
With the way you just told me, with the chaos that happened All-Star Weekend.
Yeah, they're not doing it.
That's not going to happen. And plus all the legal action that they have with the refs, especially with Tim Donaghy, almost 10 years ago. It's not going to happen.
No.
But I think, honestly, the more I think about it, I'm excited for Las Vegas Raiders now. I think I am. I really am. And we're going to get, about 3 years, we're going to get the LA Chargers versus the Las Vegas Raiders.
That's weird.
It is weird. I never thought I would say that. All right, well, we're going to take our first break here, and when we get back, we're going to discuss Roger Goodell, and he said he was going to attend the Patriots opener. And, Anthony, I know this is the type of stories you like. This is chaos. Ran all over it. So we're going to discuss that when we get back to Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
And welcome back to Against the Me Concepts Football Podcast. And for our second story of the day here, well, Roger Goodell, he looks like he is going to attend the New England Patriots home opener. I don't know who they're playing yet because the schedule's not out.
Right.
But he will be at the home opener when they, I guess they do this little ceremony every year. What do they do? Hang banners? Hang banners, right? Mm-hmm. When they do all that, Roger Goodell will go to that opening game. Because remember, every opening game for the NFL every season is always that Thursday night game.
Right.
And, of course, the Patriots will play that game. We don't know who they play it because the schedule is probably won't be released till, I think early February, a couple weeks. But he is going to be there, and we know the history between the Patriots and Roger Goodell over the past few years. Remember, Goodell suspended Brady for the first 4 games yesterday, and he's kind of been public enemy number 1 in New England. So, I know you like these type of stories, Anthony. It's chaos written all over it.
I mean, here's the thing with Goodell. He is persona non grata in New England. He is the enemy. He is Darth Vader. He is everybody that they don't like in New England because he's the guy that basically made a witch hunt against Tom Brady, right, with the whole Deflategate thing. And the thing is, if he goes there, I say if because who knows what's going to happen in the meantime. He probably will, but, time will tell. If he goes there and as soon as it goes to the opening kind of back and forth with the people just basically saying let's take a look up at the stands, your commissioner, because also you're going to have the local announcers, right? This isn't like it's going to be somebody that's, kind of biased. I love Boston. Also, Boston's not exactly the most down the middle as far as their announcers go. If you ever listen to Tommy Heinsohn when he's called Celtics games, he is the worst as far as trying to be neutral about it. He just basically yells they're a homer all the time. He is nowhere near unbiased about it. But they're gonna have people, and I feel once they pan over Goodell, you're gonna have the announcers for the Patriots be oh, look at that guy. Yeah, look at him. Look at Roger. Yeah, look at him. He's over here. He's trying to be in Boston. He thinks he's gonna be a good guy. Bleep this guy. Bleep him. It's just gonna all the type of stuff like that. And then you're gonna get the crowd all amped up, and they're just gonna be booing him so loud. You remember how loud the people booed when they were in, where were they in for the Super Bowl?
What, this year?
Yeah, was it Texas?
Yeah, it was in was it Houston?
It might have been Houston.
It was Houston. Yeah, I don't know why I don't know why I forgot about that, but yeah, it's in Houston.
And they were in Houston. And did you hear how loud they booed Goodell after the game? Loud, man. And that wasn't in New England. Yeah, I'm sure there were a lot of Patriots fans that went to the game, but man, you're gonna put this in the middle of everything. This is basically I'm trying to think of a good analogy of the whole thing. But this is basically you decided to cheat on your girl, and now instead of going to her and talking to her directly, you are deciding to go to a family barbecue, and you're just going to get yelled at by everybody in the family, man. You are just going to get yelled at by the mother, the father, the uncle, the cousin, everybody, man. You're getting yelled at by every single person, and you got to eat it. Because Goodell can't do anything about it, right? He can't do what he did to the Super Bowl where he just tries to talk louder. But the whole thing, he's what a good game. And just his voice just gets louder and louder to basically drown out the fact of that everybody's booing me mercilessly. When he goes to New England, he's just going to have to eat it, man. And also, all of the security. All of the security. You're going to have Sully and Murph getting drunk off they're going to be so bad. You're going to need a bunch of security to protect Goodell. And I just think, because also the thing that sucks about it, though, is once that happens and he goes, it's over. Right? You can't be mad anymore if you're New England. I guess you can be mad because, you can't tell someone not to be mad. They're going to be mad. But, what else do you want? That literally was your pound of flesh, right? Him coming there and you just basically booing him until your, throats are sore, right? That's you getting your full pound of flesh with this whole thing. It wasn't the Super Bowl win. It wasn't the booze after the Super Bowl. This is it. This is the thing where you kind of okay, we're good. But now the whole Goodell versus the Patriots thing, that goes away. So that's not as fun anymore. It kind of makes me a little bit sad because, it ends the chapter of Goodell versus the Patriots. Unless he suspends them again for something else, then we can ratchet it up again. Right? If there's another kind of gate, even though Watergate had nothing to do with water, there's going to be more gates, right? Like, you're going to have some other gate they're going to go on some, then maybe they can get mad at Goodell again. But for this thing, if he goes, it's the end of it, right? Like, there's nothing left after that.
Yeah, and if you guys don't remember, Goodell actually didn't attend the home opener for New England after they won Super Bowl, I think, 49? That was it, right? Against the Seahawks?
Yeah. Cause
he wasn't there. And then he also didn't attend the AFC Championship game this year because he wanted to go to the NFC Championship game in Georgia,
right,
at the Georgia Dome. So, when it was Atlanta, and oh my God, what team did they play again? It's a blank in my head, the team that Atlanta played. I have no idea. I don't know on top of my head right now what team they play. I don't know why. I feel like I should know. But anyways, Roger Goodell was at the NFC Championship game. Anyways, well, whatever. But other things that Roger Goodell did discuss at the news conference on Tuesday at the league meetings, he refuted the notion that
Green Bay.
Oh, it was Green Bay.
I totally forgot about that too.
Yeah,
100%. I forgot.
It was Green Bay.
Like, I was going to say Seattle. I'm like, no. Yeah, because Green Bay. Because that's because Aaron Rodgers beat Dallas on that last second drive.
Oh, yes, but Jerry Cook, yes.
And then they got their face caved in by Atlanta. And because it was Green Bay. It was basically Aaron Rodgers versus the Falcons.
And New England played Pittsburgh.
Yep.
Okay, cool. All right. We got that out of the way now. But I just wanted to touch on some things that Roger Goodell also talked about in his press conference on Tuesday. He refuted the notion that Colin Kaepernick is being blackballed by the NFL.
Lies.
And, we can, that's an argument in itself for a different show.
Uh-huh.
But, he did talk about that, so he doesn't believe that's a reason. He doesn't think he's getting blackballed by NFL teams.
Lies. Okay.
Lies. And then Goodell also, asked the NFL competition committee to table discussions on excessive celebration rules until he has a meeting to talk to players. So that may happen later on this year. But that's something that we can also discuss.
So wait, hold on. He decided basically to tell them, like, I'm going to talk to the players about these celebrations, so don't try and, like, make it any more ridiculous. Like, as far as, like, the punitive stuff. Like, don't punish them anymore until I talk to the players is basically what he said. So this is a new
he wants to gain, like clarity on what players should be allowed to do.
Give them 20 seconds to, like, lose their mind, and then after that, you're fine. Like, that's the thing. Give them, like, 15, 20 seconds of, like, a freak out of just, like, and, like, spike the ball or whatever.
Give them at least 2 pumps. Remember that. Like,
no,
he's going to be Kringleberry, all right?
What was that? The thing was, like, the 2 pumps is good, the 3 pumps is bad?
Yeah, 3 pumps is bad, yeah. Even 2.5 is bad.
Even that's bad. Anything over 2. 2.1, 2.5, bad. But, no, like, I don't understand this Goodell. Like, now we're having nice Goodell. He went from, like, angry Goodell. Now he's going to be nice Goodell, and he's going to basically talk to the players. Players just going to get mad at him. James Harrison wants to fight him in the street. Like, you're going to ask the players, what do you want to do? What do they want to do? They want to celebrate, right? That's what they want. They want to be able to, like, basically, like, celebrate and do what they want. Like, I think everyone kind of understands that, like, things can go too far and stuff like that. Like, if you have, like, a legit, like, 1 minute choreographed thing, okay, that's too much. But, like, they don't even let you do some stuff. Like, look, fine. You don't want them to do, like, the finger guns thing, which, whatever, fine. Like, you don't want to do that, that's fine. But they don't even let them do, like, bows and arrows. Like, it's, like, a weird thing of just, like, nothing that's, like, a weapon. It's just, like, okay, that's weird. But, like, the NFL is, like, really weird and strict about these things. And I kind of like that Goodell is going to meet with players. It's just weird and surprising.
Yeah, and I really thought this is something that kind of has been a little bit blown out of proportion a little bit. I think they should have the ability to express themselves. I think, why can't we see Antonio Brown twerk after he scores a touchdown? Why can't we see, I'm going to go back to a throwback here. Why can't we see Terrell Owens get a pin out of his shoe to sign a football? That may be a little excessive with props, but come on, that was a little fun.
I can answer that question very quickly, but you're not going to like the answer I give you.
Okay. Answer it for me real quick. I said real quick. Don't give me a 5-minute answer.
It's not going to be a 5-minute answer. I'm trying to think of it as like the quickest way I can do it. 50-year-old white guys in the middle of the country don't like black guys celebrating a lot. So, with the NFL, you kind of also have these situations where, people don't necessarily, know what the lines are, right? Because they outlawed stuff like the spike on the goalpost. They, Tony Gonzalez and Antonio Gates used to do that a bunch. They took that away. They let you do the Lambeau leap. They let you spike the ball. Like, there's kind of weird gray areas with this whole thing, right? Of like what you can do and what you can't do. So it's all very confusing. It's kind of like a catch in the NFL. You don't know what it is. You don't know how far a celebration goes because you look at it and be like, is that – okay, there's no flag. Okay, cool. Let's move it forward kind of thing. Like, it's kind of a weird kind of scenario. So seeing what they do with this whole thing once it's not tabled, it'll be interesting to see what Goodell actually does with that whole thing.
That was a very quick answer. And if you guys didn't hear Anthony's answer, just rewind back to the episode. I'm not going to repeat it. Okay, just rewind it back about like 20 seconds. But anyways, one thing I wanted to also talk about that he did address before we get to our second break here is that he was asked about the potential pitfalls facing young players in Las Vegas due to the Raiders relocating there in about 3 years. So he talked about that's why they implemented the personal conduct policy.
Mm-hmm.
So he said, my experience is that 21-year-olds can find trouble in a lot of different places, by the way. That's one of the reasons why we have so much focus on a personal conduct policy. It's educating, helping players make better judgments, giving them better information so they can avoid problems. So
yeah, but that's like I said, you can tell people don't drink alcohol. That's a bad idea. And it's another thing to give them a bottle of vodka on the table and says, okay, don't drink this, and walk away. Like, there's differences between saying you can get in trouble anywhere, which is true. I guess there's also a team in Miami. So, you can do a lot of stuff in Miami,
too. They've been in Miami for, like, ever.
Right.
And what you just kind of said, though you can't tell people to drink alcohol, it's kind of like when you're a college student living in the college dorms.
Right.
And this is your first time away from home.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to tell those kids not to have you know where I'm going with this.
You tell them not to drink alcohol. Guess what they're going to do?
They're going to do it.
They're going to do it a lot.
You
can have all of the...
it's basically the same thing.
Yeah, you can have all of the, security and all of the people that
you can have the RAs. They're not going to stop them.
The RAs can be there all you want to. I kept wanting to call them RNs. I'm like, that's not it. That's a registered nurse. That's RAs. I was like, if I say RN, that's going to sound weird. Yeah, you can have all the RAs you want to. You can have all the people over there knocking on doors, basically seeing how you're doing. That people are still going to do it, man. Like, they're going to have backpacks full of stuff. Like, come on now.
I remember a little quick dorm story.
Sure.
When I was living at the college dorms in Sacramento State when I first moved here, I lived in one that was more for like the upper class men, because I was a transfer student. So I was already 21 when I came here. So I was old enough to legally drink, but this is my first time away from home. So it's like, okay, all right. But every time that we couldn't actually be shown to bringing alcohol inside the dorms.
Yep.
We had to put a paper bag over it.
Yep.
And I remember one time a group of friends all went to the store, and we had like 5 to 6 people with paper bags all over.
Which doesn't look sketchy at all. Which that doesn't look sketchy at all.
And then the RAs were like, hey, what's in the bag?
Right.
So I just want to share that.
Yeah.
But I just want to let you know I was old enough to drink then.
Yes.
So...
Yeah, none of us ever.
I wasn't breaking the rules.
Yeah, none of us ever drank alcohol before we were 21. Never. Don't.
All right. Anyway, I think it's time for a break now. Okay. All right. When we return, we're going to talk about the NFL banning leaping on field goals and extra points.
Right.
When we get back to Going to Meet Concepts Football Podcast.
Are you looking for help for your fantasy football team? Check out the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. Get today's best advice on who to start, who to sit, even who you should draft. From sleeper picks to red hot lineups, they got it all covered for you. That's GSMCpodcast.com/fantasy-football-podcast. We'll cover traditional leagues, dynasty, PPR, even IDP leagues. When you need fantasy help, there's just one show to hit up. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
And welcome back to Going to Meet Contest Football Podcast. And the NFL League meetings were taking place this week in Phoenix, Arizona. And one of the main rule changes has been that the league is banning leaping block attempts on field goals and extra points. Most of this is due to maybe kind of want to have safety of the players, because when you think about it, there was a lot of concerns about the safety risk of leaping over players on the line that are lined up. And, there's fear that a player could be flipped in the air by blockers. There's potential for them to land awkwardly on their head, their neck. You know where I'm going with that.
Mm-hmm.
But
right.
It is now banned. And, Bobby Wagner, the inside linebacker for the Seattle Seahawks, he was one of the guys who did it so perfectly. He can do it, pretty much all the time. And he tweeted that, we were creative, we will find another way, with a picture of him leaping. Mm-hmm. And then Cam Chancellor was also, kind of disappointed by it. Cam Chancellor tweeted that, quote, "No fun league. How can you entertain if you're governed by people who never broke a bone before?"
All right.
And okay. So there's a lot of dislike about this role from the player's perspective. But I understand why the league is doing it, because, there is a lot of safety hazards taking place on that as well, with you jumping over a lot of blockers, and then we'll just say they happen to hit you on your feet while you're in the air. You can't flip over.
Yep.
And then, fall on your head and possibly receive a lot of gruesome injuries.
Right. And it's not just the flipping over part. It's the fact that you can get your leg caught with stuff. There is actually legitimate, health concerns and safety concerns. The NFL always say, we're doing this for safety reasons. No, you're not, because you want to go to 18 games. Don't give me those safety reasons things. You play Thursday night games. But this, I actually think, legitimately has some safety concerns with it, right? Because it's such a weird thing, and there are the possibilities of you flipping over onto your head, or you getting your leg twisted or something like that. There are all these possibilities that could go wrong. The Seahawks, though, they have basically cornered the market on basically reading the rule book and just basically going trying to find the loopholes and everything, right? They figured out the loophole of if we pass interfere the receiver every single time, they're not going to call it every single time. And with this thing of just okay, we can leap over the center, but I can't touch him. Okay, cool. They found little ways to find the glitch in the system. So I'm sure they'll find more, but at least for this one, at least I understand what the NFL is doing about it.
Yeah, and that it was honestly, I'm not gonna lie, I actually like when players leap. It's fun, but I guess it's the end of a short era.
Yeah, and honestly,
that's the best way I can explain it.
And I saw a couple of them now, but how many times had you seen it before this year? I'm sure it's happened a lot before, but it's not like we ever remember things like this happening. It's not like we have some major memory of somebody doing it in the Super Bowl or the NFC Championship game, and they leaped over, they blocked the thing, and then they ran for a touchdown, right? It's not like that. We've had people who kind of run through the line and get the block and return something back, but we've never really seen someone who jumps over the center and does the little kind of thing, right? It's happened, but we're not going to remember this in 5-7 years.
No, we won't.
Right. This isn't the Tuck rule, which gets talked about every single year with the Raiders or the Patriots if they're good. This isn't going to be something a specific rule that we remember for years and years and years. Yeah,
and another things that came about during the league meetings was the centralized replay system.
Right.
So it looks like it can save 1.5 minutes per game. And what it is that the replay decision will rest with the senior vice president of officiating, who is Don Blandino. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right.
Dean Blandino, yeah.
And then, or a member of the supervisory staff who will watch the games from the command center in New York. The referees will follow the conversation on a video tablet rather than using a satellite quote-unquote hood. This is a move that, is a formalization of the process the league has used since the command center was established in 2014. So we have centralized replay. It's there to save time. Remember, this is all about changing the pace of game.
Right.
Even though, I don't know, there's nothing wrong with it. But that was one of the big things that was talked about in the league meetings. And other things that were talked about was to approve a rule prohibiting teams from committing multiple fouls on the same play, to pretty much not manipulate the game clock. This was used by the San Francisco 49ers and Baltimore Ravens this past year, so that's something they can do. They also made a permanent rule to automatically eject players from games after they commit two of a certain type of unsportsmanlike conduct penalty. So I was like, okay, I can see that. And then they also approved for one more season the experiment to put touchbacks at the 25-yard line after kickoff. So those are some things that they have discussed at the league meetings this year.
The last two ones that are on there, the kickoff at the 25-yard line and for the lack of a better term, if you hit someone, in an unsportsmanlike way twice, you get kicked out. I don't know how that's any different than what they have now. Generally, if you keep committing penalties, they're going to kick you out of the game. Like, if it's really, egregious, they're going to kick you out. But I guess this is kind of making it more specific of like, okay, everybody gets one, but the second time you're gone. Like, if you are James Harrison circa 2007, basically taking out Colt McCoy, and then you do that again, you're gone. So I guess, which, again, safety concerns, I get it, that's fine. I don't know exactly how they're going to figure it out, in the sense of how exactly are you going to figure out what is egregious and what isn't. Like, fine, we can all say that if you're headhunting and you basically use your forearm to, like, clothesline somebody, like, fine, that's excessive, don't do that, you're out. But some of the hits I've had before with these players, like, it's something where it's like they try and go low, and then the receiver goes low, and they get hit in the head. Like, there's a lot of, like, gray area with this whole thing, so it's going to be weird to see, like, how they basically judge these whole things, right? Because they've done the thing where, like, they throw a flag for, like, defensive receiver, but it's like, yeah, he got hit really hard, but that's not what the defender was trying to do. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do as far as, like, figuring out how to actually govern the whole, like, unsportsmanlike conduct thing and, like, what that actually means. As far as the 25-yard kickoff, the touchback or whatever, like, the Patriots are the only team that I've figured out this year that decided basically, okay, if you're going to get it at the 25-yard line, you're basically going to get it closer to your own touchdown than it was in the past, where you're going to kick the ball higher in the air, and that way you have to catch it on, like, the 1-yard line, but you have to run it out. Now, the Patriots are the only ones that have actually kind of figured that part of it out. Maybe the Ravens a little bit too, because the Ravens are really good as far as a special teams sort of team, because that's what Harbaugh was beforehand. But, like, I want to see what if other teams basically figure out, like, okay, we're going to kind of tweak how we do this, understanding that if you kick it higher and you kick it shorter, they're not going to go as far as the 25-yard line more often than not.
Yeah, and another thing that has been discussed was shortening the overtime period from 15 to 10 minutes. Right. That has been tabled right now. That's something I don't really want. I'd rather have them go to the college rule style, because we've seen the flaws of the overtime period in the Super Bowl.
Jay Gruden is not a fan of this shorter overtime to possibly tie more. Did you ever see him in press conferences afterwards?
So we talked about this.
He was so confused. He didn't understand how ties existed. Like, he was so confused. You make it 10 minutes? Oh, my God, this is going to be a bad day for Gruden. He's going to be like, I got 10 minutes now? We can still tie?
I honestly think they should have a similar format like college. Don't go it just like college.
To a certain degree. You can't do it where eventually you have it at 25.
But you have to have it similar to college. You kind of have to, man. I think it would be a good way to get rid of ties. Because I hate ties. I said on the show during the season when Alex was still here, I hated ties. He loved ties.
No one likes ties. Who likes ties?
He loved ties. And
why?
Funny. I don't know. I think he was just giving me a hard time.
That's weird.
But still, he's all like, how you can stop ties? Make your field goals. Make your field goals.
Okay, fine. Yeah. Also, sometimes it doesn't happen.
I know, exactly.
Like, what is that? Like, I like ties.
I don't know.
No one likes ties.
No.
Soccer people don't like ties.
The NHL doesn't do it anymore. You can get points for overtime losses.
Yeah.
The NHL got rid of it.
It's weird.
Soccer, well, they're probably never going to go away with that because it's such I don't know. They're never going to get away from that. I don't think so. But NFL, yeah, there should be no ties. That's all I got to say. Well, I think that's going to do it for us today. We will be back tomorrow.
Yep.
We will discuss any type of news that happens over the next 24 hours, like always. I'm Jeremiah.
And I'm Anthony.
And I'd like to thank you guys for tuning in to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast. You guys come back tomorrow for another action-packed show.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.